Good morning. Hope this finds you well. Had a day of connecting with amazing friends on Good of the Whole. Highly recommend the Sacred Fire. I wanted to bring forward a couple of things as I moved through this next couple days. There are pathways that we all go through. And today, in the Mayan tradition, the Mayan calendar goes back and dates back before the calendar we have today. And they call it the cosmic calendar because it's multi-dimensional. And today is the day of the ancestry. And it's really the day of the monkey, they say, and the bat. And, you know, the sonar relationship, I'm going to kind of just drop in. The sonar of our relations throughout our years, throughout our time, throughout our lifetime is a way to look at the sonar of your personal cords that come from the ancestors, right? And those pathways, my good friend Jose was talking about today. He's from the lineage of the Mayan in Guatemala. And when you look at your ancestry, it's powerful to look at the pathways you've been given. So I'm going to bring that sacred fire that I lit this morning, and I lit the Trinity today because this life, I came into the Christian tradition, and the Trinity is really powerful, but there are many people from many traditions from way back that look at the Trinity different. In the modern day, we look at it, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, which is the Holy Spirit. And that Holy Spirit of who we are and the questions that we question within ourselves is powerful. Some people say it's, you know, the blood, the breath, and the air, and the heart. Some say it's, you know, all different things. But the Trinity, believe deeply. Jesus came here as a very powerful healer, and his pathways were very clear to heaven. And when I look at this bowl, this is a bowl that my daughter made in high school, and I lit these candles because in 2 days she leaves my home, and all the boxes are here. She's packed up a lot of her room, and it's an entryway into a new pathway. And that entryway is powerful. And, you know, as we started on Earth Day with this torch meditation, simple actions for global change, this was a lot of years ago that we started this, but the actions of impact made me think about the pathways, you know, and the pathway into the torch, and the pathway into from our ancestors, and the pathway, how we get these pathways, how they come, how they're given, how they're brought forward. There's a book of the Chittick family. My given name in this life was Lynn Susan Chittick, and I don't know what your given name was, but in many cultures, names have a meaning. And Lynn, many years past the name that my parents gave me, was very powerful in a way that it means something. So I'm recommending that you look at your pathways today, your name pathways. And if you want any help with that, let me know. Message me. We're going on at 8, so I won't stay on long, but I just wanted to tell you that the pathways are rich. When we look at how we create new pathways, how the ancestry healing is. I met with my 3 girls yesterday, and none of them really are about ritual, and Mama's really about ritual. You know, I love ritual. So I tried to do a little ritual and give my daughter her spiritual basket. And the spiritual basket came from the depth of, you know, listening, right? you listen and say, what should be in her basket? So I gathered all the things that might be important to her so she can carry her basket out of my home, because it's her spiritual time for a new transition, but it's also my spiritual time. It's a pathway. And the pathway of a new beginning is powerful. And the pathway for each of us, that we move in these circles of motherhood or entrepreneurship, which today is the 5th day of spiritual renewal. I hope you join us. It's been really rich. It's a 9-day challenge. This is the 5th day challenge. I'm not sure how it's going to happen in a couple days because I have to fly to Colorado. So, but I wanted you to know that the pathway is very rich for each of us. And those pathways that we each have been given are really sacred, really sacred. So I hold this molding of my daughter, that she molded this clay pot in her own spiritual pathway. And this bowl I'll keep lighting candles in, I think, from my house to pray for her. And pray for her journey, her spiritual journey. And pray for her college, as she goes to college. It's all online. So her and a friend are, moving in a pathway of moving together without their parents, because that's what they want. And I remember the other day she got free dishes to go into her apartment, and I had a little bit of an ache, like, I want to fill her kitchen. And then it was like, no, that's her pathway. That's her spiritual pathway. And there's been a lot of letting go this week for me as a mama. And I talked to another mama, and she said she begged her daughter not to go. And then another mama said, celebrate, and then another mama said, oh my gosh, the mothering path has been so hard. And my path has been really challenging and really beautiful. And all the ceremonies and all the rituals maybe mean nothing to the children, but they might eventually. They might. And if they mean nothing, it's okay. But mostly the ritual of bringing her to church this year and getting her involved in, service to others, and she went down to the borders and served the people on the border, the kids, and brought stuffed animals to kids that were on the borders. And she took care of people on a farm. And I mean, it's just really powerful what the pathways. I gave her a pathway of being with horses. And last night I was telling the girls, there are many pathways I've given you for your road. My 3 daughters, I have 2 sons, I have 5 children. In 39 years, my pathway has been rich with raising children. And as these candles die down, I'm going to have to blow them out. But I wanted to come on and just say the pathway of mothering is very powerful. I remember the elders in the Native tradition. I did counsel for many years and led song and did ceremony, and I haven't been there in a long time. Like I just kind of have not been there for almost 12 years. I've been doing academic work. And I started going to the Sacred Fire with Jose, and the first time I put my boots on out here in California, every Halloween I put it on, and I pass out precious stones, because in the Celtic tradition, my family of origin, my dad's mom comes from Scotland, and it's the New Year in Scotland. The Halloween is the New Year in the Celtic tradition, and in the Celtic tradition, this richness, of the land and the richness. But then there are these pathways, of like finding, I was given a peace pipe, and I'm a pipe carrier in the Native tradition, given to me by a Choctaw chief. And I carry some of the work here in a bag. And this is my medicine bag. And on the bottom of this bag is a turtle shell. And the turtle shell that it's made from, it's a beautiful bag that my sister made, a really good close friend that did ceremony for my daughters, two of my daughters. Hopefully she'll do one of my third daughter at some point. But, you know, the ceremony of the turtle in the indigenous people of North America is the stories of the turtle brought us here. You know, the turtle brought us here. On the back of the turtle, this land was Turtle Island, and I grew up looking across the waters to Turtle Island on a little place in Penobscot Bay. And we would take our sailboats and go over to the Turtle Island, and it literally is a turtle. And I have a lot of longing to go there. And I'm praying that I'll get some time to go. But this idea of Turtle Island, and the bag that I brought to ceremony last night with my daughters, they might not have that pathway, even though both sides of their ancestry is traditionally indigenous. But maybe they will. But my pathway, the name Quasquimque was given to me, corn woman. And I did a little ritual with my girls to take a piece of corn and do a prayer into the corn and put it in a little sachet for my daughter, and it was with tobacco. And if she can do her little ritual of either, I said, you can bury it or carry it with you. You decide. It's your pathway. And then I wore my boots last night to say to my three daughters, my pathway, these were made for a Cherokee elder, and he died. And I went to this gentleman at Grassroots in Ithaca, New York, a place where my children and I danced for many, many years. And I had always worn moccasins from Maine. Moccasins and I were one growing up in Maine. I had no idea. And when I saw him, he made all these beautiful moccasins. And I said, would you make some for my daughter? And now my grandchildren have those same moccasins. And I said, would you please do that for me? And I came back and he said, I have something for you. I want to give you these boots. These were made. Would you try them on? And they fit me like a glove. He said, you're honoring of who you are. I want to gift these to you, if you'd be willing. And I did pay, but he was shocked that they fit me perfect. And so my boots and my name came from the indigenous Quasquimque. So as I wear those last night, I'm given a pipe in 97. I buried the pipe in 98 because I said, well, I'm not Native American. And then in 99, I found out that my grandmother was indigenous, Grandmother Gray. It was like, whoa, what is this pathway that's hidden? So we also have hidden pathways. And I want you to really take time and see if there's any hidden ancestry that you might want to discover or might want to explore. I went deep with that. I went up to Maine and I looked at all the records and I looked at all the places where my mom and her cousin said we couldn't talk about our grandmother. And I couldn't believe, after I'd been already in the pathway. So I spent 10 years in council, and today I'm going to a council here. And I'm really blessed that I met Chief Philip. And a meeting, I went up to Deluxe Land 2 days ago, and there are these rituals that I need to find my pathway route now for my ancestry. And I've been given so many pathways. And whether we take these pathways serious or not, they're important for our heart to follow those pathways. My Christian roots will never leave me. And it's funny, one of the third candles went out, so we have 2 candles here. And it's getting hot, so I'm going to probably blow them out. But, we look at our pathway, and for me, it's night and day, We look at the night stars, and we look at those ancestries. And this is the day of the pathway. This is the day to remember your ancestors. In this cosmic Mayan calendar day, And it was so rich to hear that from Jose today. That where did we come from, and give thanks for those ancestors. And so powerful that that ritual came last night for me, just out of saying, I need to do a little ritual for my daughters. Because it's the last time we'll be together with a child in my home. We'll still be together many times, but my home, my daughters are sleeping over at a house that my other daughter's taking care of. So they're not sleeping in my home. It's powerful. It's powerful. This root of ancestors. And as tomorrow's a new day and I'm excited to learn, I'm doing a deeper reading today with Nana Shuni before I go to this ritual tonight. And it'll be a rich moment for me because the pathway is there. And then I'll fly with my daughter to take her to college. And I'll help her in any way she asks. It's time for her to ask. It's not for me to tell, because I handed her her spiritual basket. So in her basket last night, she wanted me to carry it, put it in the bag. I said, I'm not carrying it. This is your basket now. And holding the basket seriously to give her her spiritual pathway was something that was given to me when I got the name Quasquimque. Grandfather gave me the basket. And when I went back for her dad's burial, her dad died, and he had been part of the council. He wasn't there for her naming. He wasn't there for most of her life. He wasn't there for her birthdays. He wasn't there. And I tried for many years to get him to be there, but he couldn't be there. So she was raised with just me. And, he died a couple years ago, and she's been suffering. So I asked for prayers. As her spiritual basket's been given, I asked for prayers for my daughter. But that's not why I came on. I came on to just tell you about the pathways, because they're important to you and your children. They're important to share the stories. And I think in many cultures, people share stories and they're honored. But in America, we don't share those pathways as rich. So as Torch family shares stories about different ideas, Haji Khan Faroch just rode his bike, showed a picture of riding his bike in Chitral, and I was shocked. I was like, that's right, you were there. And I know the man that donated land in Chitral, Pakistan, for Torch seeds. It's where our initiation of the Torch seeds came from. That land is rich to me. I don't know what it'll bring when I go there and stay for a while. I'm hoping to go there and stay, depending on COVID and how my healing process goes, and jobs and things to be able to be taken care of. It's a pathway that we don't know in the future, but the pathway that's given behind us to get to right now, I just wanted you to think about how rich it is, how beautiful it is. I have a name by the Buddhist tradition. I studied Shingon Buddhist tradition for 10 plus years. And in that pathway, my name is Lin Po. And that's when I found out what Lin meant, the teacher of sound. And that brings, again, the teacher of the chakra, the teacher of the vibrational world. I'm very attuned to that. We were doing work on land yesterday with our beautiful Shelley Darling, and she has a pathway of dowsing, and her pathway is rich and it's very knowledgeable. And I also want to honor the pathway of all of you, that your pathways mean a lot to me. They mean a lot. They mean something to me. And I think we need a Zoom meeting just on pathways. What is your pathway? Where did you come from? How did you get here? Now, and one of the things I'll say that Jose did a clearing today with some sound. And one of the areas that I think are important is that you don't have to carry things that aren't yours. And I told that to my girls. Don't carry things that aren't yours. I had my own things to carry, and they weren't easy for you guys to deal with, but they were mine to carry. And I hand that back to you all. And we had red string, and I couldn't get it grounded because the wind is blowing. We had this amazing journey up there. And I had this idea of doing this, like a little bit of letting go of the tears that we've shed, the tears that when the fathers didn't show up, the tears of, one of the fathers dying, and, another one has Parkinson's, and, or the depth that my children have gone through with their fathers not as present as I would have liked. And I look at that and I question myself. But on the way up to the mountain, I mean, my daughter goes up there a lot with her friends, and I had the same feeling. My daughter had the same feeling, and I spoke it to my daughter the first time, and now my oldest daughter spoke it to her, and it was like so precious, and how special that she's going up to the mountain to look over the oceans regularly since she lived here. And we went up right after she graduated to do a little ritual. So yesterday, as we did the ritual, we drive up the mountain and it completely becomes fog on the way up. And you could barely see in front of you the car. And all these huge raindrops came down. And for me, when the rain comes sometimes, it's almost like shedding and clearing ourselves. Like for me, it even seems like the tears of heaven. And that the waters clear things. The waters bring us through. When we cry, we clear our bodies. We clear our own healing. We clear our own essence. And so this huge fog. And here I had this whole idea on the way up. I was like, I really need to do a little bit of clearing from our past so that they don't carry that. I don't want my daughters to carry any more of me, or, I want them to carry my love, and I want them to carry what's theirs to carry from our beautiful pathway, because we have beautiful pathway. But there's a lot of stuff that I had to heal and they had to heal to bring the pathway clean. And it felt like those pathways up to the mountain. So what time frame have you been seeing the clearing is another thing I wanted to share with you. How have you cleared along the way as a human being? Now we're down to one candle. This is beautiful, and it's making a beautiful pattern. And our next class comes at 8:00, and we're doing the spiritual renewal for entrepreneurs, and it's been really rich. This is the 5th day, and I hope you'll join us, because entrepreneurship brings all of this too. But back to this pathway of your heart, I call it really, what have we been given back to the heart? What can we bring back to the heart so that our kids don't carry some of the pain that my ancestors did, the grandmother that couldn't be talked about. She wasn't in my mother's life. That's painful. My mother drank alcohol, and I imagine, the ancestry blockage there that I've had to heal to come back to wear medicine boots or dance. And my daughter danced around the sacred fires when she was little. And I showed her all those pieces last night, her first little things that were given to her to put in her spiritual basket. It's her spiritual time now to be a woman. That all 3 of my daughters now are women. And I talked about the mother, how precious the mother is, the pathway of the mothering. And I said, when your child has their first bump in their bump, and they bleed when the mother, I was just going to say that my mothering path is actually, it's changing now. And the candle blew out, and it was very powerful. But I went into this little idea that, that first bump that each of these girls have had, I was there. And it was like I bumped myself. When you're a mom, when your child first skins themselves, or if they get hurt, or if they get wounded, you feel it like it's your own. That's what mothers are. And nobody can touch that except for a mom that's been a mom. And so my oldest daughter really got it because she saw the first bump of her child and how much that is such a preciousness. That mothering can feel that much when their child skins their knee for the first time, and that precious skin that a baby's born, and they walk and they toddle about, and then they might ride a bike, or they might, I think one was about 3 and scraped his knee really bad, and I just cried. I was like, I had to be sturdy, right? But it was like that first blood coming out of my child, But that's one of many as a pathway that we go through. Many, many. And as we heal the sacred lands, the sacred love, the sacred consciousness, the sacred, inspirations of each other, as we spark each other to this beautiful love, may we bring about the care of your pathway. Because my mother was there, and I wore my mother's shirt last night, and I wear the bracelets of my grandmother and my mother and myself, and my grandkids play with these bracelets, and these are my pathways back to my ancestors. And so today, being the day of the ancestry and the Mayan tradition and the old calendars of some of the earliest peoples known on the planet, the pathway is precious, and it's not easy sometimes, and it might cause pain, and there might be mental health issues in your family, or even in yourself, that you felt that, and even in your areas of growing as a human being. We continue to grow. My pathway's got many more years because it's eternal. But the ancestry from all the way back to just now, to my consciousness, to where I stand today, and passing the spiritual basket on to my daughter, my last child. The baskets are important. The spiritual baskets are important. So I hope you carry your ancestry baskets to yourself up until this point, and maybe make an altar, or maybe make something precious for yourself to give thanks. I'm going to set up the room where my daughter's leaving as a beautiful prayer and meditation room. And I'm going to stay here a little longer. I don't know what my next steps are. It's part of my, graduation, and I'm in, student housing, and do I do the doctorate or do I not? All the pathways have to be seen. I don't know but I know it will become clear when I know. When I become clear, as my home that I bought myself in 2000, in 2010, we lost that home, and that was my retirement home. And so that pathway was really, it's a little rocky right now. Where's my pathway? Where am I landing on this earth right now? So right now I'm staying here, and I'm going to set up a prayer and meditation and a movement room and take care of myself after 39 years of taking care of others, and learn a different part of me, my pathway. So I hand that little section of pathway to you as this day of the ancestors. And I hand that for you to ponder and think about what brought you here. Who brought you here? And I'll say one more thing about the beautiful words of Aveline Kushi. She sat with us all after she had cancer, and The last time I had seen her in a teaching position, and she said, you got here. And so many women come to me and they've been raped, or their fathers have beat them, or their husbands have beat them, and they're always saying how they can heal. And she said, no, no, no. She said, you got here now because of all that. you know? So whatever's behind you, you got here now. You got here now. And that's all you have. You got here now. All of that came before you to this moment, to this precious moment, to this precious love that you are, to the precious spark of light that you are. Your heart beats. You don't have to do anything about it. It just beats. Like, that's a miracle. That's the miracle of this beautiful land. That's the miracle of this beautiful light that you are. That's the miracle of this amazing place that you have had the pathway to now. That's the pathway. That's the preciousness of your pathway. Doesn't matter, except carrying your own spiritual basket. And when grandfather gave me that basket, and I still have it, and I'm going to clean it in the next couple days, because it's a new pathway, and it's going to be things that are going to be gone out of that spiritual basket for me to carry into my new basket, because it's a transition time for this mama. I love you all so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I hope you join us in 15 minutes. We'll be on Zoom. If you're interested in coming into the circle, there's a Zoom link that I can send you. So message me, and you can come in and talk about spiritual renewal as an entrepreneur. It's an important thing. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed moment of your pathway. Have a blessed day to remember the ancestry. Have a blessed day to remember where you came from. But now you only are here right now. You'll never have this moment again. Carry your basket, your spiritual basket, your spiritual consciousness. And it's been fun to use the name Quasqueemque. And in the native tradition, it's a precious name for me. And the elder said I would grow a lot of corn in this life and help many. And I've helped many. If I died tomorrow, I said to my girls, I'd be very happy for what God has given me. And my children are precious. And it won't be easy for me to see that empty room of this precious little girl. I mean, she's so precious. I want to just show you my little altar for her. And I'll bring it. Look at this pathway of this gorgeous, gorgeous baby. Isn't she lovely? So pray for her. Pray for her, please. She's really stunning. God gave me the gift, and she's really smart, and she knows how to think for herself, and she knows what I gave her for food to eat, and she knows how to take care of herself. She's so good at taking care of herself, and it's precious. May you look on this day at the pathway, the day of the monkey, the day of the bat. These are the day to give thanks to those beautiful ancestors that brought you here. Thank you. Matiosh in the Mayan tradition. Matarkuyasan in my native tradition. Alafez in the Islam tradition. And have a beautiful day in the Mama Lynn. Have a beautiful day. Have a light-filled day in this day of the pathway. Blessings, light, and love. Adonai. From my heart to your heart. Find your path. Carry your basket. Carry the love that you are. Blessings.